All right. Welcome to another episode of the Digital Recruiter Podcast. I am joined by a fierce rival. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, by Ashley Woods, founder of Time Rich Recruiter, super successful recruiter at Tema. She built up a $10 million desk and just knows the right way to do things and is now a coach. And with her program, just really helping recruiters buy their time back, which if you've listened to this episode, our podcast, then you know I'm very passionate about that topic as well. So we're going to have a ton to cover. She's a 5-time President's Club winner. She's lived the proof. She knows it. She's a jet setter, does Muay Thai, got a Frenchie, super cool. There's a lot going on. So Ashley Woods, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. What an intro.
Yeah. I know. I told you, I'm different. I'm different than Ben. So our good friend Benjamin Mehta, who has the Great Elite Recruiter podcast, which you were also on earlier this year. So first of all, how are you doing today? Where in the world are you right now?
Currently in Vancouver. Finally.
Okay. Hockey season started. What's been the most interesting place you went to this year?
Uh, Definitely. I mean, nowhere new.
Okay.
Nowhere new. Uh,
Any recommendations then?
so I spent a lot of time in Phuket this year, um, specifically training Muay Thai. So, I mean, that's the first
Yeah.
thing that comes to mind.
You
But it's
go right
great.
to the
Like
source. Yeah.
cheap beach massages are $10.
Whoa.
You can eat and get a massage for $10 sometimes. Uh, Highly recommend.
We might be taking the whole Wilcox claim there for like 3 months next year. 'Cause
Right?
Lord knows my wife and I both need that chasing these Rugrats around. That sounds like a can't be beat deal. Well, super cool. Well, I'm glad that you're back, and obviously Frenchie's glad that you're back home too. And
Yes.
we're talking some recruiting, and I know you kind of launched this program this year, but for the uninformed, talk to us about how you got into recruiting.
How I got into recruiting? Ooh, I was
Yeah,
recruited.
you were recruited.
I
You,
was recruited
wow.
to be in recruiting. Yeah, I mean, about 10 years ago, Allegis Group, so tech systems. I know
Yeah.
you came from Aerotech, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, no, a recruiter reached out to me. I had no idea that recruiting was even an industry. And yeah, they just called me up. Hey, do you want to come in for an interview to be a recruiter? I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I went.
That was. I get it. Like I think they called me. I put my career builder, Indeed, or whatever it was,
Yeah,
and it was like they called me about like a customer service or inside sales role. I'm like, I don't want this job, right?
yeah,
But in the conversation, like you thought about recruiting, same. I mean, literally, I think the same reaction to the same was like I didn't even understand what was happening the first week or two. I still made placements, but I didn't really. I had no idea how to explain it to people in my family. But I was in LA. I was making no money, so I had a base salary, and I was like, sign me up. They talked about uncapped commission, which I didn't know what that meant. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. And they're like, you just have to talk to people for a living. I'm like, I can hopefully figure that out.
yeah.
Uh,
And
and
here we are.
and here we are. Now we're here. So now, but Texas is a bit different, much more on like the IT side of things, right? I was on skill trade, light industrial. You were more on the IT, so did they just kind of throw you into kind of that world? Like, how was that experience? Because I know for me, it was just wild talking to some people in the areas I had no idea about. Like, were you tech savvy, IT savvy going into it? Did you kind of have to figure it all out? Like, what were those first few months like?
Yeah, no, it's a definitely jumping off the deep end. You know what they did to me is they pulled the athletic card, right? They were like, athletes do really well here. I played
Yeah,
sports my entire life, and I was like, it's competitive, it's fast, it's challenging. I was like,
yeah,
I'm in. What are we doing? So to your point, like when it came to tech, I had no idea. I was like calling software engineers, asking silly questions like, what kind of code do you use? And yeah, I had to learn really quick that this is something that I got to take a deep dive into. Like, I got to understand, I got to speak their language, I got to meet them where they're at. So, yeah, it was definitely a rude awakening. And, but I geeked out hard, like hard.
it's. I think that's like an underappreciated part of what makes great recruiters great is, and I hear it all the time, having been fortunate enough to work with a lot of recruiters, interview a lot on recruiters and recruiters turn coaches, on this show. Like, is the ownership of like, okay, I don't really know how I got here, but if I'm going to be any good at this, like, I gotta quote unquote hit the books or hit the Google search or the LLM search or whatever. Like, I gotta study this craft, which is again one of the reasons why I think it's when I talk to tech systems, Aerotech, or Allegis recruiters, when we were put in a vertical, looking back on it, when we hear a lot, I'm sure you hear from prospective clients out, what should I pick as my niche? And I'm like, I was just handed mine. I didn't realize how much of a benefit that was until after, right? But it's like, same thing. You just have to like go all in. So I guess my question is like, what did that look like for you, right? In terms of like diving deep into the craft.
Multifaceted, but I think the biggest thing, I was technical general, and then very early I started doing government recruiting. So it was both things, right? It was learning the landscape of provincial selling, and then it was learning the tech side. I went to events, I went to networking events, I went to like coding events where they would sit in rooms and like talk about code, and I would just sit there like no idea what the hell is going on. But
Just like
I would
two
pick
finger
up,
typing. Yeah.
yeah, I would pick
Yeah.
up keywords, and then I'd go home and I'd research those because brand is really important to me as it is with you. And I knew that if I was the recruiter who knew something about the tech, who was able to speak a little bit of their language, I would get more respect in the room, right? And it did. The more I learned, the more doors it opened for me. And I just started geeking out really hard, and it really paid off for me. But yeah, it was a combination of things, but really it's like, as recruiters, we have the privilege of speaking to the most brilliant people in the market day in and day out. So it's like I really use that to my advantage, right? Like I learned from the people that I was serving, and they love to teach me.
I feel like if you're on LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of the people that are not the best in the market get talked about on LinkedIn, right? We hear some of the horror stories and all that, but I'm glad that you say that because I also think that is where the opportunity in brand and marketing is right
Yeah.
now, is to talk about the positivity, not in a fake way, don't talk about things that aren't real. Like, if you tell the truth, you're authentic, you can show behind the scenes. I think I have a post either I posted or I have drafted up that's like, you want to show your work with clients. Like, you don't want to complain about your work, but they need to be brought in on how much time you're spending sourcing and screening and the amount of people that you vetted to get them their 3 finalists, right? And then you could talk about those types of people publicly and like the best of the best, because that lifts you up, that you have the ear of those types of people, right? And like, it just works. It works in actual recruiting, but also works so well in content marketing. That's why it's like the most successful recruiters are also the best marketers with their brand. Like, I mean, it doesn't really work sustainably if you don't know what you're doing. And I think one of those key points is like talking about the positivity, the things that excite you, that you've learned. I think it's just it's just like an easy way to market and to
and
talk about stuff.
and
Yeah.
contagious, right? It's like,
Yes.
hey, I learned this really cool thing. And then when other people
Yes.
learn really cool things, you're the first person they want to share it with. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
compounds.
And they attribute it to you. Wow, I've learned stuff from Ashley. I learned stuff from Clark, and like they're not going to unfollow, right? They're going to be engaged. So it's like, yeah, share what's interesting, share what you've learned, right? And what we do with either making a placement or even coaching, like, the people that are going to be buyers aren't going to figure it out on their own anyway, for the most part, right? In terms of like, it's a very small percentage of people that do that. Like, you have to, if you lean into like, I'm here to work with the people that actually need and value this as a service, I feel like it just opens the door and completely removes the pressure
Yeah.
on and expectations, right? And everything. It sounds like you've kind of experienced the same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, vulnerability goes a really long way, right? Like, I was just
Mm.
very honest.
Yeah, wait, it turned. That's also like playing dumb, right? Like, I'd be like, "How does the machine work? What's a PLC? Can you break that down to me?" Like, I had no idea, but I just knew enough, right, with the mechanics to like be able to vet. Like, then you could just tell the tells who actually sounds like they know what they're talking about versus who doesn't, right? Because then you send. I'll tell my manager, "Oh, this candidate's a layup." It goes in there, bombs it, or like the best is the welding test. He's like, "Oh, I can weld anything." And it go in, and they're like, "This is the manager. Like, this is how the weld is supposed to look. Here's what the weld that they put together." And it might as well have been me welding with a blindfold on. That's how bad it was. And so I was like, "All right, what do I have to learn from what that welder told me? To how do I vet that out next time a little bit better?" Right. So there was a little bit of a humble pie served in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I'm sure it was probably the same on the engineering side.
100%. But
Yeah.
I never thought of it on like the blue collar side.
It's
It's like art. Like they produce right in front of you. You can't lie
right in
about
front of
that.
you. Well, you can do like a real test. Yeah, the exciting one was we had to let go of so and so. They crashed the forklift and made $50,000 worth of damages of equipment. You're just like, oh no, like, so do you want us to backfill it? Like, it's just like it's like that awkward question. Like, we're gonna go elsewhere. It's like, oh, okay, I don't blame you for that one.
Yeah.
It's like you interviewed and hired the person, right? It's not all on me, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Where
the
was your
fun
weld test
experiences.
then?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh, maybe we'll have to do like a forklift test in an open field next time,
Yeah.
and not not live on the job. So, well, we get off track, which I knew was going to happen, given some parallel backgrounds. But you get into tech systems. Like, when were you like a recruiter the whole way? Did you get into account management? Like, where did you like really start to have like things kind of click and start to evolve, and then eventually kind of transition into the sales side?
Yeah, Tech Systems was really it was a bit challenging because I was in one of their satellite offices.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like the kid that got ignored, you know?
Mm, yeah.
So, but it also provided a lot of opportunity. So when I got into Tech Systems, it was like we had a little bit of an established office, but there was a lot of opportunity for growth. So again, it was like jumping off the deep end and kind of getting thrown into the middle of it. But I got thrown into public sector. We had zero success in public sector really up until then. And we had brought in a leader who was a really good mentor of mine, and she really helped me build that. So it was like I learned the recruiting side. I did it for about 10 months, and then I moved into the account management role. Where I just started selling, but I was very much recruiting. And I think within, month 10, I got my promotion to an account manager and two recruiters on the same day that I was then responsible for like leading and mentoring. And yeah, it was fun. One of them came over to work with me at Tema, so like it wasn't all bad, right?
No, it worked out. I was handed only one, and that was a lot. I can't imagine two.
Yeah.
If for those that don't know, the account manager role is a hunter role, but you also maybe manage or inherit some accounts, or maybe not, and you also manage a recruiter or two or three,
And their
as well as a
performance.
direct report.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I was drinking from the hose. I was learning how to be a recruiter. I was learning how to sell, and I was learning how to develop
yeah,
people all at the same time. But
yeah,
it was really cool because we learned together, we grew together,
yeah.
and I never lost that.
Yeah. It's well, obviously now you're here now as a coach, and it's so funny. I'm hearing it. I'm just like, yep, that's kind of why I decided to do this and fell into this and all that. I just know the experience so well on my side, or at least that their process, right? The
Yeah.
Allegis Group process, so I can picture the day to day that you went through in a sense. But opening up a new territory, like, how did you go about like tackling your day to day, right? Because I know when it's recruiting only, then you get into sales, and then you got to manage the team and all that. Like, it's a lot to tackle. Like, when did you start getting into, or like, how did you start getting into a flow? Maybe, and how long did it take?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and now that you ask it, I never really gave that thought, but it's probably why I started building systems for
yeah,
everything,
yeah,
because I was forced to do that. But I mean, like, I would say I found my flow at like 18 months.
yeah,
So by then it was like, I knew and I understood the industry. 18 months, but like really 3 or 4 years compressed in that 18 months.
yeah.
So I did nothing. I lived and breathed recruiting, anywhere from 80 to 100 hours a week. So did I manage my time well? I mean, like I definitely was working a lot. But it was a lot of trial and error, right? It was like constant feedback loop. It was asking, my peers for feedback. It was asking my leaders for feedback. It was asking my clients for feedback. It was asking contractors for feedback, and then integrating. So it was this never-ending loop of like asking, integrating,
Yeah.
which then allowed me to look like I think of everything in terms of like closest to the dollar. So, I see a dollar sign and then I organize my day on like whatever's going to be closest to move deals across the line. So that's how
Yep.
I planned my day. Was, first saying, hey, what is the closest thing to a deal? And I would start there. Um, and then, balancing the priorities of leadership. What's the closest thing to their deals? And
Yep.
I would look at it that way. And then I would just segment the day, had things that were like non-negotiables, must get done, and other things that could be moved around. So yeah, I mean, time blocking was a really big thing.
Time. It's what I hear all the time, right? It's time blocking. How do I spend my day? Everything else. But it's interesting. You start closest to the money, which you should. I mean, was that taught at like a Allegis Group, like through a mentor, like elsewhere? Because a lot of people don't do that. I don't think in recruiting, at least not that I've heard. It was something that my manager at Airtech kind of trained in me, right? Close those deals first. So I see you nodding your head. Is that where it came from?
Oh
Or
yeah, like one thing that I did really well at Tech Systems, again, because I had the right leadership there, is I looked at all the top producers and
yep,
I would interview them. And I would ask questions. Hey, what do good recruiters have? What separates good from great? Uh, Give me some of your best practices. How do you organize your day, right? So it's like I didn't reinvent the wheel. I just asked people who were already killing it what they were doing, and I took and play, right? Like I had to be effective. I wasn't
yep,
gonna try to learn it all on myself. I'm like, what do you do?
yep,
So yes, I did have a one of my mentors who explained. He's like, look, like you could be busy or you could be productive, and they're two very different things.
yeah.
So I started looking everything on like a graph, right, with like the dollar sign in the middle, and then I would put the little activities where they fell on my dollar graph, and that's how I organized my day.
That's I love that, and it's well, I knew you were in a satellite office. You might not. I was in one of the bigger offices in the LA office, so there's 80 people in there. So I could take someone out to lunch, or have them take me out to lunch when I was a recruiter and they were
Yeah,
account manager. They'd have them pay for it, expense it until it was my turn to do it. But it was the same thing. It was just go out to lunch and like seek it out. And I developed it as like a recruiter first, so I could work on professional services roles or scientific and see like the low hanging fruit that managers wanted filled that no one was touching. And like that's how I built some of the and I added the value. And they're like, hey, if you call these 10 people, like I'll help you like move it across. I'm like, sure, like I'm totally fine. And they would, more reasons for them to take me out to lunch and to give me mentorship. And it was so true of not reinventing the wheel. And it's funny being on this side of things when people don't have that background or experience. And I'm realizing more and more, I'm just telling people like, look, no one at the big agencies does it alone. Like really no one does it alone, especially on like the sales side. Like everyone, so if you're on your own, if you're like, oh, COVID hit, I can make money as a recruiter, but I'm gonna do it all by myself, or I can watch YouTube videos and like that's it. It's like that's legitimately not how any of the best billers or top billers or people that are in this long term have done it. Like, why are you different? Right? Why like you feel like you can get away and make this thing without investing anything into education and shortcutting it, and I think people are substituting tech for actual mentorship, and that's one of the big problems. I think if people are coming back around, right? I'm sure we might be seeing some of that too, but it's like you can't replace that piece of it and that knowledge being like AI has not spent a day out in the field
no,
recruiting, looked a hiring manager in the eye, or not looked them in the eye and realized like that's why you didn't get business or whatever else, like made all those mistakes, right? Like that's where the magic is in getting like really good at this. I also think it's where some of the patience comes from
yeah,
of like knowing that like you just have to build that resiliency over and over. I don't know. I don't even
yeah.
know if I have a question. I'm just saying things because I know you get it.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
recruiters are funny, right? Like, I've never met a group of people who have such high earning potential that don't want to reinvest back in themselves. Um,
Yeah.
like recruiting is one of the highest paid sales jobs in the world, and the amount of money that we can make for doing what we do just like absolutely blows my mind. And the fact that people don't want to take that and reinvest it and find shortcuts and quicker ways and better ways just astonishes me.
It it does. And what do you say to what are some of the like if I'm someone that is maybe doing all right and I'm worried about you know in, investing or looking to like how do I take this thing to the next level, like people are going to look at tech, they're going to get bombarded with AI and automation stuff or market or whatever, but like why are you such an advocate of like reinvesting it back in yourself?
I think it comes directly from like the growth mindset, right?
Okay.
And just the content I surround myself with. So I'm big on like Tony Robbins and Russell Brunson. So I like, I look at them, I see them, I go to their events, I get a lot out
Yeah.
of it. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm just a proponent is like I put myself out there, I made the investment, there's a funny thing that happens when you make an investment because then you're like, okay, I have something in the game, right? Like I have something to lose here.
Yeah.
So I can either lose it or I can go all in and, trust the process and reap the benefits. So um, I think, coming from an athletic background my whole life, it's like I always had coaches. I always had
Yeah.
people seeing my blind sides, like my blind side. Um, I've never been afraid to ask for help. It's like, I always use this example because I'm like, when you go to a grocery store, are you the type of person who is looking for an item and will spend an hour searching the store for that item? Or are you the person that goes directly to somebody who works there and says, hey, where can I find this? Because
Yeah.
those two people are very different people. One values their time in a way that the other doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how I look at things in my life. I'm like, well, I'd rather be doing other things. So fastest track. I look at
Yeah.
coaching and professional development the same way, right? It's just like, I want to get there fast and I want to
Yeah.
get there from somebody who knows what they're doing. Um, and, I think the beauty of coaching and the beauty of development is that like you can take different perspectives from people in our industry, from people outside our industry, and you can apply them in ways to your business that, other people who are not investing in themselves just don't have that edge. So it's a missed opportunity. Um, it's funny though, I see it all the time.
All the time.
I'm like,
And
you make 500K. Why won't you spend $1,000 on a tool?
yeah, I don't it's wild. It's wild. Actually, I'm about to kind of I'm gonna poke fun at a client for the same thing who's actually doing very well this year, and worried about a tool that's like 170 a month or something like that. I'm like, but like and I'll be set it up and all that because just like of always being able to source candidates and stuff like that. And I'm like, really? Like, you care about that? Like, I get it, but like, all you got to do is cancel your card twice a year, and like, then they all come back, and then like, that's how I audit my tech stack.
Yeah.
Because they're all begging for my information, because like, whatever. Like, I'm not going to re up for these like 4 tools that I tried out. But I have to go back to your analogy at the grocery store because you mentioned the person that searches for an hour versus the one that asks for help. What happens if you're both? I don't. There's some day. There's a day in the week, right, that I'll like ask for. And then sometimes I'm determined. I'm on a mission. I'm gonna find it without help. And I don't know if that maybe there's something wrong with me because of that. But I also have seen that with coaching. I think myself. There's times where I invest in it. There's like a season for it. Like it's the right program at the right time. But then there are times where I'm kind of like I need to kind of just work with this or work with the material I was given or coached on. I need to like just wrestle with it for a little bit and kind of just see how it lands. So I do think I've evolved to where like I don't always have coaching going on, but I am kind of try to be strategic about when and where I use it. And some people I've worked with for 3 years straight. They just like are never gonna not work with me. Some people are phases. I'm much more of a phases person. So I get it when people are like that. So I do think there's room for that
Yeah,
piece of it,
100%.
but I think it's that self awareness, that honesty. It kind of you have to be intentional about these things. I
Yeah.
think, and I think there's a lack of that sometimes. Which I think that's like fixable. Like that should be easy to fix, at least in my mind.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
mean, I think to your point, like implementation matters, right? Like you can't just absorb and do nothing with it. So if you don't
yeah,
give yourself time to implement, to benefit, to see the ROI, probably not
yeah,
going to want to make that investment again. So I'm in 100% agreement. There's
yeah.
definitely seasons. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely have coaches for literally everything.
It's dog training coaches, right? Sales coach. I'm just what the evolution. So you go to Tema, right?
hmm
And I'm assuming that that's kind of like where is that like where the big takeoff, big jump happened, right? You get to kind of like that up to like to 10 million a year. Like, what was it about kind of being there, setting up shop there that kind of allowed you to hit those heights?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hit home with a few recruiters right now because like when I left Allegis Group, like I was so burnt out that, I didn't find anything fun anymore. Like
Hmm.
things that I found fun, it was like, yeah, I would go out, I would have a few drinks with my friends and like that was my idea of fun. Like I stopped doing all the things that I loved because I was so tired, but I didn't see that when I was in it, right? I felt it.
Yeah.
So I actually left recruiting altogether. I went into tech sales because when you're in Allegis, they sell tech sales as a dream. So I stepped outside of recruitment. And then I realized that tech sales is like same thing, different challenges.
Yeah.
But what tech sales didn't have that recruiting had was like the impact, right? Like you get to impact somebody's life. You get to make positive changes. And I think that that reward piece was really what motivated me. What, when I went to tech sales, I was like, I'm just selling products to people that like, I know we're going to mess up on the implementation. Like I felt guilty. It was like a guilty conscience.
Mm,
I'm like, I'll sell you this great product and we're not going to implement it well. And you're going to call me with all your problems. And that was my
yeah.
life. I was like, it's not for me. Like I actually really missed recruiting. So when I found Tema is a very flexible model. And like at that point in my life, the only thing I wanted to do was see the world. I was like, I want to see the world. I was a small town kid. Like the closest city was 5 hours away. So I always had this dream, like this, like I was like, I'm gonna, go on a plane with a backpack and never come back. Like this is
Yeah.
what drove me. So when I found Tema was like, this business model where you don't have you don't have any restrictions. You don't have a boss. You don't have somebody who's calling you. It was like your own terms, doing business the way that you want to do it. So coming back into the industry, appreciating the industry, having left and realizing the impact that I actually got to make on a daily basis, along with the freedom and flexibility to build the way that I wanted to serve people, like this is where the magic happened. Um, because
Wow.
I got to do what I wanted to do. I got to do what I believed in, and it just snowballed.
I love it. I love it. I resonate. I mean, I know we've just started interacting, this year and going back and forth. But listeners, this may or may not know, right? But if they're new, they don't know. The day I hit my all time high in spread at Aerotech is the day I decided to quit.
Wow.
Uh, it's the same thing, like just burnt out.
Yeah.
And I didn't quit that day, but I quit 6 months later. I was like, I'm quitting by the end of the year, and
Quiet
I
quitting.
quit. I quit to yeah, well, yeah, I quit to nothing.
Yeah.
Like I had no real plan. I did a couple interviews with people in my network and all that, but I just was burnt out. It was the same for so many reasons. I got so much value out of being there, and they saved me in so many ways. They're the reason I can do what I do now. But just there, it just ran its course, and for so many different reasons. And I'm not here to bash on it. I'm just here to say that the burnout is real.
Yeah.
And I for me, getting back into recruiting and realizing the impact I can have and the knowledge I had learned with a couple of things I picked up post Aerotech, it's just been so validating to be like, it wasn't for naught. And like, I wasn't crazy. Like, I might still be a little crazy, but I wasn't like complete. Like, I knew there was a better way to leverage the skills and the tools and everything else in the market than like
Yeah.
their way and what they cared about. And that has done so much for me personally, and I just resonate with you saying that because I think it's real. Sometimes you just have the right skills, but maybe you're just not in the right environment. And to say that I was perfect, right? It's not. There's definitely things I take ownership for on
Yeah.
my time there, but sometimes that thing can be true. It can be both things can be true.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, with you, like just finding that flexibility, that harmony, it's cool to hear. It's cool to hear another story like that because I think people listening to this, like number one, you can change your environment anytime,
Yeah.
especially in this day if you have the skills. Um,
It's actually
yeah,
never been easier.
literally never been easier. That's so cool. It's like, I was going to take my job. I'm like, well, create a business,
Yeah.
right? Especially if you're in recruiting, right? A couple tools, get a sales coach like yourself or me and all that. Like figure that piece out, and like you're off and running. You need to make what 8 placements a year to make 200 plus K. Like it's like no brainer. Which leads me into what I want to talk about, which is time rich recruiter, which you started. I know we
Yeah.
want to talk about like there's the hustle, right? The 80, 100 hours a week. And I remember doing 50 G2s in a week and everything else and just trying to get all my submittals and interviews. So like what inspired you to start Time Rich Recruiter?
I was sitting on a beach one day, and what I've built at Tema's a really cool model, but Tema, like I focus on contingent recruiting, right? So we're talking about
Yeah.
like building run rates. And, while I was traveling the world, I was really jealous of all my friends who I met traveling, who were actually traveling, not working. I was taking calls at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning because I was in Asia. I
Yeah.
was like, God damn. And, 4-hour work week was a big thing. And I had friends that were working in marketing. And I'm like, I saw the flexibility that they have. And I'm like, this must exist in recruiting. And I thought about like the contingent model about staffing. I was like, well, we make our money for every hour that somebody works, and that'll compound. So if I can just get to 10K a month I can live this beautiful life and I don't really have to work that hard. And, there's things that I did to make that happen. And I'm like, okay, well, now I got 10K. Well, if I could get to 20K, and then it was
Yeah,
30, and then it was 50, and then I was like, okay, this is too good not to share, right? So that was where Time Rich Recruiter was born. Is like, I want to show recruiters what is possible, because like at one point I thought I wanted to like rule the world of recruiting, build a massive agency, be at the top of the corporate,
yeah,
until that burnout hit. And I'm like, I don't want that at all, and I'm actually not really money driven. Like, I want my time. I want to travel the world. I want to surf. I learned how to speak Spanish. So it's like I had all these things going on. So I was forced to find these like systematic approaches. So I basically took what I saw working in other industries, because at the time I was in Bali. Bali has networking events every single night. So I was there like learning about all these business models, and I'm like, okay, how do I take that and build a new playbook in recruiting? So that's kind of where Time Rich Recruiter was born. Is like, I still hear people like, you have to hustle, you have to work 60-hour weeks. Like, I don't. I'm sorry, but I don't. Yes, I do think that you have to work harder. I do think that there's ways that you can work smarter, not harder. Um, as long as you're focused and you have a really strong vision and a really good strategy, like, you can get there working normal hours and still enjoying the other things that life has to offer, right? So I was like, if I can leave something in the world, this is my purpose.
yeah.
And really, it was like Tony Robbins that pushed me there. I was at an event. He's like, what are you going to give back to the world? Contribution is like one of the big, six needs. And I was like, I got to give back. And I built Time Rich Recruiter. So,
I, I love it. I do think that there is a responsibility. It's one of the masterminds. The first one I joined back in 2018 because I was trying to wrap my head around posting content,
yeah,
right? And they're like, "Do you feel like you have value to offer the world?" They're like, "Yeah," or like a specific client. I'm like, "Yeah." Well, that's your responsibility to post. There's someone searching for you right now that doesn't know you exist because you won't put yourself out there. I'm like,
yeah.
"Ooh." And it's like sound very similar to kind of what it sounds like Tony
Give me
Robbins
chills.
was
Yeah,
saying.
he does
Yeah,
say
right.
that.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just like, God, you guys are right. But ever since then, I've had no problem posting
No,
because I'm not posting for the masses. That's why I talk about I
no.
don't care about going viral. I posted that one person, that Clark back in 2017, that was burnt out his all time high, that was searching for this. And that's what happened. I found a podcast like, like this that like taught me about digital marketing, content marketing. I was like, what is this sorcery that people are talking about? Because
Yeah,
that's how it felt to me at the time. Because
yeah,
I knew nothing. And then I got so much, I was actually terrible at messaging until I worked for a LinkedIn lead gen agency that Steven Perchikov started, Art Sales Academy. And he taught me, I was like, what is this automation? And how do you talk to people? Like, you could book calls from messaging people on LinkedIn. Like, it just blew my mind.
yeah,
And I'm with you. It's like it's never really about the money. The money is there to keep doing this. How do I systemize and how do I, fix the weaknesses and shore that up and like make this better and get this out there? Because that's the fun of it. That's like the fun and the challenge in doing that. I completely resonate, and I think those are questions people are facing. I think that's people are always going to face
yeah,
that. And I think it just like speaks well to like obviously your motives and your mission. It's like you don't like have to do this. It's like you want to do this, which as people are like vetting coaches and programs and all that, like it's really important to figure out what is someone's motivation for helping me. And there's a lot of negativity out there, but it can also be good. Like it could act like there is like a bunch of legitimate motivations
yeah,
out there. So it's again, I think in this world we have to get really good at vetting
yeah,
because there is a lot of noise. So that's number one. You got to stand out, but then you also got to be able to vet well and take that responsibility when you do, invest in something,
yeah.
right? And have
100%.
a mission like yours.
Yeah.
So,
No, you nailed it. I have nothing to add.
all right,
But I love
okay,
the
well,
passion. I love the
yeah.
energy. Uh,
That's what we always get here. So you started. It's so what is the first step to kind of getting your time back as a recruiter in your eyes?
a time audit, right? Where do you spend your
Okay.
time? What? And then Dan Martella has a book called Buy Back Your Time. And
Okay.
I honestly read it after I wrote Time Rich Recruiter. So I was like, wow, he's like reading my mind. But
Yeah.
his frameworks have a lot more clarity than mine. And one of the things that he says is like, not only do you got to audit your time, right? So, you know, I did it in a way where like I had a sales leader who just had me write down on a pen and paper, like pen and paper, where I've spent every minute of every day for like 2 weeks straight. What Dan adds to that is he does energy audits. So not only were you spending your time, but what was your energy level at when you did that time, like when you did that task. So once you put that on a map and you color code it green and red, like good energy or bad energy. Now the red stuff is what you want to augment and get rid of, right?
Yeah.
So it's like first figuring out where you spend your time, then doing the energy audit. And then once you can get rid of all of these things that you don't like doing, which has never been easier, whether you're using automation, I use a lot of partnerships actually, more than automation. No, I have both. I lied. Um, but I use a lot of partners because I'm outcome driven and they give me outcomes.
Yeah.
Automation, I'm still playing with all the time and it changes its mind and whatever. But I think just finding that synergy, right, between what works. So it's like, yeah, the people that are listening probably know what's sucking their time. Have they ever written it down? Not sure, perhaps. Now the next step is doing something about it. Little by little, baby steps too, right? Like I think people
Yeah.
try to make these transformations happen overnight. I'm sure you see this as well. But I'm like, there is no easy fix, and it's not an overnight thing. It's like small changes that compound, and that's
Yeah.
when you start seeing big results.
There's simple fixes
Simple
that could
fixes.
be hard to execute or implement, or to your point, stay consistent with.
Yeah,
Right? Like, all right, if I want to get in better shape, well, I got to go work out. Well, that's a simple enough solution, right? It's the extra everything else that goes with it, right? To kind of figure that piece out, and there is like a nuance there that's important. So people that sell easy, I think there's people that sell simple, but if you
yeah,
sell, either one's easier is lying, and then simple is like yes, but it could take time. And then how long is it going to take me? It's like, I don't, it could be a post. I've seen people make 180K off their first post, but then not stay with it. Right? They know it works, but then why do they not stay with it? Right. And so then I've seen people struggle everything for 4 to 5 months, and then it opens up their whole pipeline and business, and they start getting retained searches, which they weren't getting before, and get their biggest fee. But it was four
yeah,
months of just like what seemed like pain, but they were getting really good at something new to them.
yeah,
And then it just like the dam breaks through, right? And I would actually argue they're better off in the long term than someone that had the short term win, right, or the
100%.
immediate win. And so that's an interesting thing, because then it was like, Clark, I don't believe you. That sounds like too good to be true. You're just trying to, absolve. I'm like, believe whatever you want, right? But we know these things to kind of be true, if you've actually lived it. Um, so I'm sure you see that. I guess my question to you would kind of like, where when someone works with you, or is trying to make a transformational change to their desk, or getting their time back, or systemize things, like how do you manage the expectations? How do you like set that? Like, do you have project deadlines, or like when you invest in something, it's going to work in this time? Or I guess, yeah, how do you evaluate if it's working or not beyond just like money in your account?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different, right? Like
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've learned working with different people over the years is that like what motivates somebody changes from person to person. So first understanding what that motivation is. Lately I've been big on like purpose driven. So why are you doing it, right? Like start with why, kind of blew up the why of the world and like why you do things, but really it's like when you start thinking of a task in a way that like what outcome am I working towards? What will that enable for my life? What will that enable for the people that I love? All of a sudden the things in your head start changing and you become a different person, right? Because you're looking at it from a positive light. And then it's like that mountain that you were trying to climb is not so far away. So um, the biggest advice that I give to recruiters who I work with are like, stop trying to change the world overnight, like build consistency. Because I see a lot of recruiters, they come in hot, they're motivated, they're excited, they want to make big changes, they see a lot of success, and then they're tired, they hit that burnout. And then for 3 months, it's like, that consistency of like doing the BD, doing the thing, just evaporated. And then they come back in and they're like, shit, I got to feed my family. And and they're like, okay, I got to get back to it. Okay, well now you put all this added stress. Where like if you just mellow it out, did the 3 4 hours a day. Like I'm a big proponent of telling people to work less. So I'm like, have a good strategy, 3 to 4 hours of like focused work. Nobody, no
Yeah.
interruptions. Block your notifications, your distractions. And then ebbs and flows, right? Like there are going to be instances where you're going to have to hit hard. Like if you're working on a big project and it is what it is, recover from that the next week. Don't just keep hitting it hard because like you do burn out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I actually am very contradictory. I tell people to work less. I'm like, just be sustainable. 4 hours a day. and you can create insane things with 4 hours a day.
It's
Um,
it's interesting because I'm not like disagreeing. I'm
yeah,
thinking and processing because the experience of like having two little kids now is I have no choice but to work less. Well, I could work more. I wouldn't be
yeah,
the most present parent, but that's a choice. I did this business because I wanted to add value, and I also want to be present for my family. And having the second one this year, the time efficiency and matching that with the energy that's in the tank available, because you are not at 100% energy in the tank. If you are, more power to you.
yeah,
uh good for you. That ain't me. And so you're trying to figure out that, but I've kind of been forced into that. I don't know if I would average 4 a day, but there are days where I am limited to 1 or 2 or 3. But how are there systems that can make it so I can look like I'm working 8 hours a day, or they can produce for me, whether it's automation or evergreen content or something like this, or a text post that it's like I basically am productive every single day,
yeah,
no matter what. And I think that is what's so doable. And then when I actually do put in the work new hours, like I like working. Like
yeah,
I like doing this stuff. I get burnt out sometimes. You're right. Like you got to recharge. I got to hit the golf course or go for a walk or
yeah,
turn my phone off for the weekend. Right from anything work. It's important to have those boundaries. But it's interesting. I've had some clients go like, they were more burnt out before. When they have a system and an approach that works, they're like, I actually like working now
yeah,
again. And like sometimes like that happens, right? Or sometimes like you want to go to your kids' play, or you jet set, or go to a conference last minute, right? You can do that, and systems are still working for you. And I think that's doable. I think because it was interesting what you said about just like hanging out on the beach, but still kind of having to work. I think that's kind of is recruiting. Like it's really hard to not like to be in it and build, but also like candidates need to talk after the interview or whatever
yeah,
they're available. Like there's still that like balance there,
yeah,
right? Like you kind of still have to be available if you're actively running a desk. So I don't
yeah.
know. Like how do you like manage that or coach people on managing that piece of it? Uh,
Look, what worked for me personally was like owning it, right? It's
yeah,
like people would call me and I would be very, they love that I answered the phone at the beach.
yeah,
We're recruiters. It's like, again, people don't really care about the process. And I find a lot of recruiters I work with are like, well, what are people going to think of that? The only thing they're going to think about is the results that you get them. So
yeah,
I owned it. It was part of my brand, right? Like if I answered the phone because I was at the beach, people love that. They're like, I'm
yeah.
so sorry to bother you at the beach. Like, no, no, I'm just chilling.
Just getting a tan. Sun's still here. It's all
How
good.
can I
Uh,
help you?
yeah, yeah,
And I carried my phone everywhere. I carried my laptop everywhere. I always had them on hand. A lot of the times I was playing advantage of like the differences, right, in time zones.
yeah.
Um, so it's like, this idea of being chained to a desk is done. I don't think there's anything wrong if you're answering emails from your phone and maybe you're doing it sitting on the couch with your family.
Yep.
Um,
We'll do
but
that. We'll do that
but
watching Love Is Blind. So yeah, I get you. Yeah.
But to your point, it's like I do think that people need to set boundaries in their life and they need to do things that recharge them. I mean, there's nothing worse than going to spend, like for me with my nieces. If I go to my nieces and I'm drained and I don't have the energy to play with them, shame on me, right? Like
Yeah.
I have limited time with them. So yeah, I'm really big at like I have Ashley time and I have a lot of it, but I'm like there's times where I need to sit and do nothing. There's
Yeah.
thinking time. There's times where I need to work, but the busier I get, the more effective I become. And that's how I built the systems, and that's how I started to look at things in the way that I did them. But yeah, I mean, it's 2025. You can answer your phone at the beach or at the gym. Like I do.
Unless you
I do.
switch to AT&T like I did, and then you can't. Then it works nowhere.
Oh no.
So that was a big mistake, but that's all right. I got to get back to Verizon at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a whole thing. But yeah, don't screw up your data service and phone. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
No, I don't care how good the discount is. It can be too good to be true.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
it's yeah,
the only thing I would add there, Clark, is that like recruiters have to stop being afraid to let people do things for them. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure you see this all the time, but like maybe people won't do it better than you. Maybe they will do it better than you because I'm a firm believer. Like everybody that works with me in a partner or collaboration, I hire them because they're better than me. And I outsource and I let them run with it. I let them make the calls. And then I always have the belief that I'm like, there's nothing that you can mess up like that bad that I can't come back from.
Right.
And sometimes they're like, I build stronger relationships coming back from these mishaps, right? So it's like, I I outsource so much. I partner so much, and I think that that's why I've been able to build what I've built.
Yeah, it's recruiters want grace all the time when a client candidate screws up or quits or gets fired, all that. But like, you also have to give it too. You can't
Yeah,
just want it and not give it internally with your team, externally. I think
to
in business
yourself.
development and prospect, oh, the biggest one. Um, and or if you're married, I mean, for me, for my wife and I mean, it's huge. And I think grace in prospecting and business development too, people are so like, I close all my meetings that I'm on. I'm like, number one, you're not enough meetings if that's the case, because like you should not be closing more. Like, tech system, Allegis Group, like how many meetings do we have to go on a year? 500, 600, 700. A good year was signing what, 15, 20 new logos. Like, most of our meetings, we weren't signing new contracts. Maybe we were getting more job orders, but like,
Yeah.
you do it because you do it. It's part of the job,
Hmm.
like in meetings. And then like, we're there to like filter and audit, and it's okay if someone doesn't want to work with it. It could be a million different reasons that aren't have nothing to do with us, but our goal is to gather a ton of intel and make us look accessible, like we know what we're doing, right? And I just see that in, like, just give the other person grace, or give yourself grace. Like, maybe they forgot, maybe they missed it, maybe they forgot to, they read their message, and they're making dinner for the family, they forgot to hit unread or mark as unread, so they lost your message. Like, there are so many dumb little things that can be the case, and if you just get out of your own way and just like attack it like every day is a fresh day, I'm like, oh, I haven't followed up with that person in a while, like I don't care where it left, I'm just going to follow up, be present for that day.
Yeah. Be
Like, there's
human.
so much, exactly, right, that can be human, like just being human. There's so much that can just like happen there, and that's internal or external. So yeah, I'm, oh, glad you said that, because that's, I see that, and it's a big mental gap that I see people, or mental block I see people fall into, in terms of like not recognizing opportunity.
Yeah. Be open.
So
Be
be
human.
open. What should recruiters look to delegate first?
The red, like, so when we talk about the time edit and the energy
Yeah,
audit,
yeah.
delegate the red stuff, the stuff that is
Well, it is usually the
draining
red stuff.
your energy.
Yeah,
Sourcing. So I'm weird. I like sourcing. It was my favorite thing, but
yeah,
sourcing is a big one for recruiters, right? Like, for whatever reason, recruiters hate sourcing. Outreach, like, you automated it,
yep.
like what you talk about. Um, Anything that's not human. So like anything workflow for me, I automate. Anything nurturing, I automate. One of the things that I'm a big proponent now is, like, I like to record my calls and feed it into custom GPTs so that it analyzes trends and patterns for me, so that I could then give that back to people as like value adds, right? Um, so there are just like so many little things that can be audited. If you write an email more than twice, automate it. If if you're having the same conversations, automate it. So yeah, the bigger part for me though is, like, I see most of my success from partnerships and collaborations.
Partnerships in terms of like strategic, like stuff like, or just people that you bring on to help you, say, set up like your website, or anything else, or partnering within recruiting, or like, what do you, give us an example of like a partnership?
Like, a
Yeah,
partnership could be like a recruiter and client management partnership, right? So
yeah,
like, find recruiters that you like to work with if you're on the client side. If you're, instead of trying to 360 it, like, I watch recruiters 360 their desks all the time, and I'm like, there is nothing quicker to burn out than 360ing your own desk.
yeah,
Because it's like, you could be good at both, but you're not going to be an expert in both. So if you like the client side, focus on the client side, partner with good recruiters. If you like the recruiting side, focus on the recruiting side, outsource the client side. Now, people are all, well, you can't outsource client. No, partner with people. It's not always giving it to another company and, having them do it for you, but leverage somebody else's strength.
yeah.
I think that those are things that recruiters don't do enough. It's just like, stop reinventing the wheel. Just find things that are going to save you time. So, I at one point outsourced my BD. I at one point outsourced all my recruiting. I had 5 full-time recruiters that recruited for me. Um, and then, yeah, it's just been like an up and down thing until I found what worked for me. Uh,
Yeah. And this is like trial and error, trial and error. Some things
yeah.
work, and then things evolve, and life evolves, and things can be different. You can add kids to the equation, like I did. I mean, it's just like things evolve, and that's all right. But yeah, I think just like trying stuff. And it's just, yeah, I love the way you think about it because it's like very similar. It's like, and just because you can do things doesn't mean you have to do things. I
Yeah.
think that's the other thing, right? There's so many opportunities. Once you start to kind of go down this road, you're like, I could do a million things. It's like, yeah, people tell me, well, you could do this LinkedIn stuff with so many other industries. I was like, yes, I could, right? But there's like pros and cons to all that, right? And there's
Yeah.
a reason agency recruiters, because I get it because I am one and I've been one and I know that space, like there's a comfort level there and that can be really, really, really good for agency recruiters versus people in like construction business or plumbing service. Like I could help on LinkedIn. Like, am I like, is it like that helpful? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, to your point, like that energy audit of like, where should I leverage some of these skills, right? Who is going to be more receptive to them than other people? I think in the world of vast opportunity, I think really curating that and being intentional
Yeah.
about that. I mean, I
And
don't know.
trying
That's where I
to,
found my energy getting, if I
and
were
I
to do
mean,
my energy
and
experiment.
it
Yeah.
shows, right? You talk about helping recruiters versus talking about helping the plumbers, and even your facial expressions will change. You're
Clearly
like,
affects. Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
So people have to be aware of that, right? But that's like a
Yeah.
profession, that's a personal development thing. And
Yep.
yeah, to be good at your career, you also have to invest in yourself on the personal side that has nothing to do with recruiting.
Uh, as we wrap, I mean, you're into the development, into self development, books and videos and all that. Any like recommendation, anything you've listened to this year or read or watched that's like everyone's got to watch this or read this?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the first thing that comes to mind because I
Yeah.
was just at Advanced Business Mastery and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He has a book called The Science of Scaling. And it's not even so much the book, it's like his philosophy and the way that he looks at, he calls these things like impossible goals.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like directly intertwined, well, at least this is the way that I interpreted it, but like with like manifestation, like throw it out in the universe and it'll happen for you. And you know what? I always believed that, but I didn't really know why. He puts it in this like really scientific way and like talks about how you change and you evolve when you change your impossible goals, right? Because like
Mm.
if you set a goal that's 30 years out, well, you have a lot of time to become that person that you need to be 30 years out, right? And then he talked about now if you push that up 23 years, the things that you do today automatically change. He's like, because now you're working and you're thinking differently to become that impossible goal person. So like for me, this is like the way that he explains it, the way that he talks about it. He's really passionate. Highly recommend anybody looking to scale, to grow, to read that book. Um,
Oh, wow.
that
Science of
was like,
scaling.
yeah, The Science of Scaling, Dr. Benjamin
Yeah.
Hardy. And yeah, it's like a mindset thing. Like I think everything starts with mindset.
Yep.
Um, so for me, changing my mindset and like listening to people who think that way really helped.
Yeah.
Um, so
I
that would
like
be
it.
my biggest advice is like
Yeah.
listen to more books, listen to people that you admire, right? Because like who I admire is going to be different than who other people admire, and like that's okay. But check him out; he's good.
I love it. I like when people take, shall we say, for lack of a better term, which is not how I feel about it, but like people can categorize as like woo woo stuff, right? Manifestation, which like I'm all about. But when they try to put some data and science behind it, that's always super fun and interesting to me because it ends up validating what we, us woo woo types know to be true, right? But it's like, see, like here's the actual trust to science. Like, look at it, right? There's some, it's
Yeah,
not all crazy, right? Like it actually does kind of add up, and that I think is always super interesting. So I wrote that
yeah.
down
And he
on here.
doesn't
I'm going
talk
to be
about
checking
woo
that out.
woo. That's just how
Yeah,
I was like, oh, I get it
yeah,
now.
yeah. It would no, but I think that's how I connect dots on
Yeah,
things is in energy manifestation. So it's helpful to hear that because it kind of complements and balances out like two approaches, the scientific approach and the more kind of intuitive approach, but getting to the kind of that result, which
and
is
like
super cool.
directly related to recruiting and coaching and like mindset, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
he's like, let's take your 30 goal and make it into 30-year goal and make it 7 years. Now, who do you need to be? Now your goals aren't big enough, and then you're sitting there, you're like, shit, are my goals not big enough?
Yeah, yeah. It's I need a bigger boat. No, it's oh man. Well, this has been great. Any last tips, thoughts, It could be AI, it could be automation, content, personal development, own it, like anything that you got that you want to leave the people with.
No, just that we're going into a really, really, really excited time. Exciting time for recruitment. I think that there's going to be bigger opportunities for 2026 than ever. Traditional
Yeah.
agencies are not dying. I see this all the time. They're not dying.
You know,
um,
thank you for saying this because
they're
I'm
evolving.
also, yeah, it's evolving. The glass is half full, people. The glass is
Yeah.
full. Um,
But
no,
be open. That is like my
yeah,
number one advice is like be open and just like learn, right? Knowledge is power.
it is. And then executing, trying to implement that knowledge is even more powerful. And it's great. I think more people need to hear that it is not dead. It's just maybe the way you're approaching it might be dead, right? Or
Hmm.
dying. Um, but stuff's working. You have clients that are having success. I do as well. Like it's working for someone across multiple industries. It's working for people. We have a client in the MSP space right now he's like, I got more conversations in 3 days. I did 3 years trying everything else. And that's like a tough place to be in right now.
Yeah.
Right. And so again, it was an approach. It was a strategy thing.
Hmm.
The tactics that you aren't working. Look at your strategy, right? If your strategy you think is sound, but the tactics aren't there, right? Look at the
Bingo.
tactics, but there's something, right?
Yeah.
There is a fix.
Yeah.
So, thanks for being here. This is great.
Yeah. Thanks for
Uh,
having me. I
so,
appreciate it.
well, you're quite welcome. Well, we'll have your LinkedIn profile on the episode page, the website, and Time Rich Recruiter. Check it out. It's got the course, it got group stuff, you got one-on-one work. I mean, you got it all. So if you're like Clark, I don't, thank you, but I need a different voice. Go talk to Ashley. Check it out. We talked about it. Like vet and go with coaches that you are going to learn from,
Yeah.
right? And go make it happen. And just go for it because I'm still getting ROI on stuff from 7 years ago that I didn't get an immediate ROI from.
Yeah.
And now it's like paid off 100-fold
Yeah.
to me.
Funny how
So
that
keep an
works.
open mind. It is, yeah. Keep an open mind. Be patient. Follow along to Ashley's journey. She's posting and putting stuff out there. Obviously, she knows what she's talking about. So make sure to follow and connect with her.
You're
And
too
then make sure
kind.
yeah. If you got value from this, like, subscribe, give us a 5-star. Ashley definitely earned it. And I'm still trying to overcome my 1-star rating from 2 years ago that one person gave me on Spotify at least. So bump us up there. I'm still not over it, Ashley. So if you got some value, like, subscribe, follow, and until next time, y'all, happy hunting.